Hello, Assalamu alaikum. Today we are going to look at Louis Couperus About Myself and Others. Now, Couperus was born at The Hague, spent his boyhood in the Dutch East Indies. His first novel, Eline Weer, published in 1889, was written under the influence of Tolstoy. He is best known to the English speaking world through his series of books, The Small Souls. He was a great traveler, scholar, employing his classic research in some of his historical romances. About Myself and Others is one of the stories in the Legends of the Blue Coast and has been translated by James Penning especially for this collection. From Legends of the Blue Coast, there is nothing that amuses me as much as very little adventures. Sometimes life bores me terribly in the sense that often it does not afford me any amusement. I work much, read much, love my quarters where I study and write. I often find life very dull. I mean, lacking in interest, and I'm likely to exclaim, my God, how bored I feel. I yawn, stretch out my arms in despair, and go out. Sometimes I meet with very little adventure, and that amuses me. Then I return home with a contented smile. I at once sit down to write and surround myself with heavy books containing old history. I dote on little adventures. I'm going to tell you about the little summer adventure with my friend Louis. One evening, I sat on a beach in the promenade des Anglais. That is the hour and place for the little bits of adventures. Apparently, nothing happens here except that people pass by, sit down, and dream. In reality, numerous little adventures spring up. Are humorous novelties woven? There is there a development into a romance and very occasionally into a tragedy? Have no fear. The case in which my friend Louis was involved is nothing else than a miniature comedy, a tiny farce. Well, I am sitting on a bench. A young man seats himself next to me. He is a good looking fellow, a bit of a dandy in a white suit of clothes with white shoes, altogether dressed in an elegant and very simple manner. There is an absence of loud colors, and he looks decidedly distinguished. He has fine eyes with long lashes. Doffing his straw hat, he exposes deep black hair. Perhaps he is little over 20. He regards me in an ingratiating manner. He opens the conversation with a fine evening. Splendid, I retort. The evenings in Nice during August are delightful. I agree with him. But the city is not very lively, I add. Quite true, the city is quiet. However, there will be an improvement as soon as the season starts. Are you living here? Yes, sir. Summers included? I have just returned from a trip. Is that so? I myself have just arrived. Do you intend to stay during the winter? Yes, I live with my aunt who is here for her health. At this time of the year, is your aunt in Nice now? Yes, sir, by her doctor's advice. It occurs to me that it is rather strange to have doctors advise his aunt to come to Nice for her health during August. But my imagination is very flexible, and I imagine that his aunt might reason thus. They are going to send me to Nice because I cannot stand a rigorous climate. So I might as well go now and at once take my choice of vacant residences because I abhor moving. However, I do not share her point of view. Within a short time, I intend to leave this place and don't expect to see Aunt's nephew again. But Aunt's nephew is inclined to be companionable. Evidently, I interest him. Are you from the south? He asks. I? No. Then you are from the north, a Parisian? Neither of the two, my dear sir. I'm not a Frenchman. Oh, so you have no strange accent at all. I have lived a long time in France. Are you perhaps a Russian? No, I'm a Belgian from Brussels. I'm from Montpellier. Tuticle et de plus midi. Permit me to introduce myself. My name is Desengues. It occurs to me that it is a fine sounding name. Greatly pleased, I counter courteously. My name is Disease. May I make a guess at your first name? That amuses him, and in a jovial tone he gives his consent. Amedy, I guess. Amedy Sengas? Oh no, he protests with a coquettish gesture, holding both hands up in the air. Gaston? Hector? Adhemar? No, 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 he ejaculates. My name is Louis. Your name is Louis? Well, that is curious. My name is also Louis. Oh, yes, Louis deceased. It is a stunning joke on the part of my friends to omit my family name. They always call me Louis the 16th. He laughs as if pleased at the joke. Is your aunt also a descent? Gasp. No, he slides with a laugh, which seems very attractive. And after a slight pause, he adds, my aunt is Spanish, Madame Avellaneda. My parents live in Montpellier. I have accompanied her to this place because the doctors have advised niece. In August, I supply inwardly. I am the favorite of my aunt, her pet child, a quiet existence living with her. I don't know anybody here. During the afternoons, I drive round with aunt. In the evenings, she makes no demands on me. She is not very bothersome. Enfin, I am her pet relative, you know. He smiles at me very understandingly, saying, I'm very glad to have made your acquaintance. I hope we will remain friends. You might show me Nice and Monte Carlo. I love to play occasionally and take a chance with a couple of 100 franc bills. He's trying to tell me that he can afford to throw a couple of 100 franc bills round, that a couple of 100 franc bills means nothing to Louis de Saint Gasp. Of course, if one is a pet child of Madame Avellaneda. We might go together to Monte Carlo, I suggest. I just love gambling, but I can't afford to lose much. Oh, I will lend you the money, says my friend Louis. That's mighty fine. Well, I enjoy your company very much. May I call you by your first name? Why, certainly. I'm not in the habit of being familiar, but you seem to invite an exception. Where do you and your aunt live? In the Villa Abort, Boulevard de Bouchage. A very well-furnished apartment. Aunt took her servants along. She is used to her cook. For dinner there will be partridges. Yes, aunt is fond of a good table. Partridges in August? I think. I simply dote on fowl. Why does not our cook give us game once in a while? And tell me about yourself, Louis, says my friend Louis in a sort of sentimental way. Well, my name is Louis, just like yours, Louis deceased, and what else? He is leaning against the back of the bench in a graceful attitude, smilingly awaiting further confidences while watching the ocean. I have no aunt who spoils me. I'm all alone, I supply. Alone? Yes. Do you know where the Hotel Majestic is situated in Simiers? I have seen it. I'm employed there as a cashier. He gazed at me in some surprise. As a cashier? He repeats. Yes, I said seriously. That is quite a difficult position in such an immense hotel. It is not a bad place. My salary is 150 francs a month. That is not much, she murmurs. I can live on it, I say, modestly. I have relations, I am of good family, but have run down a bit. What is there to tell? Living expenses, women, debts, you understand? So I took the position. I have free living, a small room near the servants' quarters in the attic. I receive my meals, not the menu of the dining table, assure you. No partridges, Mr. Louis. He makes a wide gesture and murmurs something as if trying to dismiss the subject, starting another lead. That is a splendid ring you wear. A souvenir, I explain. I never would dispose of that. Do you like light-colored cravat? Yes. In the summer? I don't care for them. I always wear black neckties. They go well with a background of colored shirts. You're very elegant, I remark. Oh no, he parries the compliment. You are elegant. Well, I come back. The management demands that we are well dressed. An expensive hotel, is it not? About 20 francs a day, room and meals, running between 20 and 30 francs. Will you come with me to Monte Carlo some day? If you will lend me some money, with pleasure. I cannot afford to play on my salary of 150 francs. I will lend you some money. Will we go tomorrow? Very well, I agree. That suits me perfectly. Tomorrow, by the 11 o'clock train. So we shake hands on it and say au revoir. I have not the slightest inclination to go with my friend Louis to Monte Carlo. The next morning at the appointed hour of 11, I call our cook, who I saw had just returned from the market, into my room. Madeleine, it is now open season. Why don't you ever serve partridges? Are they very expensive? Partridges, monsieur, in August? I haven't seen any in the market. A friend of mine already had partridges. But monsieur, that is impossible. There are no partridges. Perhaps a gentleman received some from a friend. They are not for sale in the market. Monsieur will have to be patient for a little while. That affords me consolation. I now feel sure that Louis de Saint Gauze has eaten no more partridges than Louis de Seize. That same afternoon, I go by a roundabout way through the Boulevard de Bouchage and ring the bell of the Villa Aubert. I ask the caretaker, Concierge, is a Mr. de Saint Gauze living here? What name, sir? De Saint Gauze. No, sir. Sorry, it must be a villa further on. That evening, as usual, I proceed to the Promenade d'Anglais. Suddenly, my friend Louis sits alongside of me. You broke your promise, he reproaches me in a gentle voice. Why weren't you at the station for a trip to Monte Carlo? It was impossible, I said seriously. I was too busy with the hotel's finances. It's a very laborious occupation. Those ciphers make me dull. Poor fellow. What a job for 150 francs. I make a gesture which should indicate my resignation to the yoke with which fate has burdened me. Louis talks in order to soothe my rasped feelings. He talks very seriously. Altogether a charming conversationalist. His discourse is of the sea, which supposedly foams with more effect over a real beach than it hurls itself against a stone ridge which girdles the azure coastline. He tells me that he is passionately fond of horseback riding on a horse and then just roaming over long stretches of veldt. He is reminiscent about steeplechases, as he possessed many acquaintances of note who owned castles and hunting preserves. He talks vivaciously and himself believes all he is telling. He gives me a description of his hunting. Here's how his new coat is lined and of the cut of his new waistcoat, quite different from the styles of last year. He mentions casually that he does not care for women and then jumps suddenly to literature. He has read voluminously Balzac, Flaubert, Zola, de Goncourt. His literary taste is rather good. Do you like Zola? Zola, I repeat. Didn't he write Nana? Yes. Didn't you read anything else from his pen? No. I offer it as an excuse. I don't read much. I'm too busy with my ledgers. Have you read Goncourt? Who is he? I ask. A good author, he replies, regarding me with some slight pity. Assured by this time that we have little in common in a literary sense, he makes a new start with the stage. But I haven't seen any of the latest plays, not even the Raphael of Bernstein. The pressing affairs of the hotel at Timmins do not leave my evenings free, as happens in the case of the aunt's nephew, Louis de Saint Gauze. He does not find me very intelligent, nor well informed, but he can cover other fields of conversation, and notwithstanding my limited range of book reading, we get along quite well. The day after tomorrow is the 25th, he informs me with a smile. The 25th of August. That is so, I exclaim. I came near forgetting. The 25th of August is the anniversary of St. Louis of France. As I have a Catholic aunt, although she is not Spanish, and as said aunt never forgets me on the 25th of August, I remember the date instantly, far better than literary data. Then, rejoins Louis de Saint Gauze, you have no leanings towards St. Louis de Gonzague? Why no, I reply. Wasn't he a Portuguese? What have I to do with a Portuguese for a patron? I'm very fond of St. Louis of France because he was a king who travelled. Historically, you seem to be well instructed, engagingly smiles my friend Louis. Now, tomorrow is our name day. Do you know? He moves up a little closer. I would very much like to have a souvenir from you, a small affair to remember you by. I dote on small presents. You will let me have the small gold piece, won't you? All right. And what do I get from you? Oh, whatever you like to have. I have it. A pin. Do you care for pins? A jeweled stick? A scarf? With pleasure, I state modestly. But let it be of trifling value. Oh, yes, agrees Louis de Saint Gauze, to whom bills of 100 francs are but slips of paper, not to overlook the wealthy aunt and the many acquaintances with castles and hunting preserves. Then I will give you the stick pin tomorrow. And when will you give me the little gold coin? Tomorrow? I promise, elated at the thought of so much affection for the approach of our name day. What is it? He asks with a greedy look at the gold piece, while with deft fingers he rubs over its surface. A Roman coin, I answer. Quite ancient, that is, if it is genuine. Then it might not be genuine. There are so many imitations. But I will get it the day after tomorrow. Of course. In the evening after tomorrow, I will bring the scarf pin. Excellent, but make no extra expense for me. Oh, let me have my own way about it, I say, Louis. If I should have to write you sometimes, should I address you at the Majestic? Yes, but what would you write about? Well, nonchalantly, I might have occasion. I would like to have your address. Then, no general delivery? That is not necessary. Louis de Sey's Majestic. Don't add cashier to my name. No, certainly not. I'm sorry, but tomorrow I won't be able to see you. Aunt is going to have friends for dinner. Till the day after tomorrow, then. Eh? I with a stickman, and I with the gold coin, I added dramatically. A handshake, very intimate, and a separation for one whole day. On the next afternoon, I proceed to the Majestic. I ask the porter, any letters for Mr. Louis de Sey's? The porter runs over the mail. No, sir. Should any letters arrive for Mr. Louis de Sey's, please forward them to this address. I hand him my card and conduct a search in my pocket for a 5-franc piece. Here is a letter, suddenly discovers the porter. Mr. Louis de Sey's, Hotel Majestic. This discovery saves the 5 francs piece, for which I bless the gods. Thereafter, I read the letter. My dear Louis, I must see you without fail tomorrow morning, the morning of our name day. Something terrible has happened to me. Imagine, after I left you yesterday, I was held up by Apaches near my home in the Avenue de Bouchage. I was very late. The street was deserted, and of course there was no policeman in sight. There were 4 of them. They've beaten me up and taken everything away from me, including some 500 francs. I dragged myself home. I hardly dare to show my face to my aunt in the condition I am in. So I'm going to stay in bed this morning and won't appear at dinner. But tomorrow morning I wish to see you. Not at my house, though, as I must avoid to arouse any suspicion in my aunt. She is so shy and also ailing, and won't see anybody she does not know well. Therefore, don't call at Villa Aubert, my dear fellow. But I must see you. Aunt is already angry with me because I spent too much money. Should she hear of my experience, she would be furious. Dear Louis, I'm going to borrow some money on some jewelry of mine. I need 200 francs. Couldn't you help me with 200 or 300 francs? You would oblige me immensely. You will receive them back within a week, because I am going to write to Montpellier at once. I can count on your letting me have 300 francs tomorrow morning, can't I? I am in great despair. Of course, 500 francs really mean nothing, but it just happens right after Aunt had reproached me with spending too much money. My dear, very dear Louis, you are my only hope. Your loyal friend, Louis de Saint-Gas. P.S. It also would give me pleasure to receive the little gold coin tomorrow morning for my name day, my best friend. The scarf pin I shall buy as soon as I am out of my difficulties, as soon as I have received word from Montpellier. To my own great chagrin, I entirely forgot to show myself in front of the Majestic with 300 francs in my pocket and the little gold piece, detached from my watch chain in order to hand it to my friend Louis. It was all the fault of my Catholic but not Spanish aunt, who arrived to embrace me, bring me a bouquet of flowers, and a little medal. A sweet woman indeed. Therefore, it was evening before I met my friend de Saint-Gas on the promenade. He was already sitting there when I arrived. He was decidedly angry. But I also had many cares and seated myself next to him with a deep sigh. A few moments' silence interrupted my sighs deep down from the bottom of my stomach. At last he condescended to open the conversation. Why didn't you come out of the hotel this morning for a few minutes? I've been waiting for you for fully 1 hour. Why? I asked, with eyes wide open and full of naive surprise. And where? In front of the Majestic, he answers crossly. In front of your hotel. Didn't you receive my letter? A letter? Still showing surprise and wide open eyes. No, I counter. I haven't received any letter. You didn't receive any letter? My dear chap, that's nothing to be wondered at. So many letters go astray. If I had known that you wished to see me, I myself am very much in need to talk to you. My good Louis, I'm in a bad predicament. You must help me out, dear fellow, you must. Think of it, a shortage in the cash of the Majestic, nearly 1,000 francs short. How it happened, I don't know. I'm honest. I'm an honest man. Who stole it? I don't know, but I'm responsible. That is the disgusting part of it. I might leave my little gold coin in pawn. If it is genuine, I'm certain to get a loan of 100 francs on it. But what is 100 francs, my dear Louis? You must, do you hear? You must lend me 900 francs. Ask your aunt for them. Otherwise, I'm lost, dishonored. I will lose my position and go to prison. Louis, my dearest Louis, help me. I implore you. What is 900 francs to you? I will write to my family for the sake of the name, which I would stain. They undoubtedly will pay the money. Within a week, my dear Louis, you will have the money back again. My friend, my very best friend, my only friend, help me out. I'm sorry, my dear fellow. This came in somewhat chilling tones. But I had just had written to you that I have been attacked by parties. Attacked? And robbed. Robbed? Of 500 francs. Louis, my dear friend Louis, what a terrible name day for us. You know, I'm going to denounce Saint Louis of France. That settles him. Henceforth, I take the Portuguese Saint Louis de Gonzague. Then you're not in a position to help me? Asked Louis de Saint Gauze. Help you? I questioned him in a full voice and overcome by despair. Who must have at least 900 francs, and even at that only when my gold coin is genuine. I help you? You must help me. You must bleed your aunt. I'm sorry. By this time, the voice has become icy. But that is impossible. As far as I'm concerned, I'm going to see an usurer. And I'm going to commit suicide. My friend Louis does not seem very much shocked by my decision. He comes to his feet and stretches out his hand. I'm going now, at once. I'm going in search of an usurer. No bad feelings, I hope, because I'm not able to help you. Of course not, I assure him, pressing his hand. The evenings on the Promenade d'Anglais follow one after the other, with the same beautiful environment, but they have lost their mutual resemblance, because my friend Louis is surely still engaged in the search of an usurer. I have not seen him again.